it was to do with having positive relationships with friends and family, and that was the answer. And
Which is why this weekend is going to make us live forever.
Yeah. The longevity weekend, baby.
So who wants to start off sharing their most transformational journey as a part of Overcome the Chaos, Set the Standard, and Coach with me? Who wants to go first?
You want to rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, right. I think it's just like, where do I start?
Yeah, I'm the same.
I suppose it's with purpose, and then I might talk a little bit on purpose, beauty, danger, just like a quick recap.
For you, what was something that was like, has been really beneficial for you, Daniel, that has sort of changed the trajectory of your life, how it is now?
Finding out my purpose was always something that I needed to get clear on, because when I first begun this journey and begun looking to do some coaching with you, I was torn between traveling the world and adventuring, because adventure was such a high value with me. It wasn't until I defined my purpose and I was able to disassociate the training and the life coach side of my life and the adventure side of my life. And so defining my purpose helped me to get clear on that. And once I got clear on that, I could work out a goal for myself and set a plan and a vision.
So what do you mean by purpose?
So my purpose was essentially, defining purpose for me was, if you can imagine, like you're sailing in an ocean and it's foggy everywhere. You can't see where you're going, and that's how I felt in life. I was clouded, didn't know where I was going, had all these different goals that I set for myself, lofty goals, training goals, but I didn't know where I was going. And if you can imagine that you're in this ocean, it's foggy, you're in a boat, and you've got this lighthouse that is directing your trajectory in your life and where you want to go. And for me, finding my purpose was like this lighthouse, like a big beacon, where I was like, everything I do now, when I map out my day, when I map out my life, I know I'm heading towards this lighthouse. And in this boat, if I want to take it to where I want to go, it's towards that lighthouse. And that lighthouse is your purpose.
Boom! There we go. God damn. How exciting is it, like being like in the communities when it's like us or someone else and someone has spent some time, they come up with like their first draft of their purpose, and then they come up with like their actual purpose, and you just like sink into it.
Oh yeah, insane. And every time it happens, it brings me back to how I felt when I found my purpose, because it just gives you so much clarity, so much direction. So many people I find within the course, they have a lot going for them. They're abundant with their family. They're abundant financially. They got everything, but they feel empty. And so it's not until they find their purpose that they really start to feel fulfilled, and they feel that inner love that can't really be expressed until you find that purpose and you find something that truly serves you, and you feel that within. It's just a feeling. It's good. When other people find it, you feel for them. you know what it's like, so you feel good.
It's a damn good feeling. Yeah. What's your purpose, Nick?
Just to touch on that, I find that every person's purpose that I've spoken to typically revolves itself around serving others. So it's like that. Right. That's the beauty of it, right? As soon as our purpose is always linked to serving other people. For me, do you want my specific purpose statement?
Yeah, what's your purpose, bro?
My purpose is to love and overcome myself today to be able to lead those that I love tomorrow. Yeah.
Boom! That's sharp and sexy.
Yeah, it didn't come one time though. That was like I did the purpose statement that first week, went through the whole 8 weeks, got to the end of the 8 weeks. I'm like, something's not right. I got to like redo it. And I went to the beach and just like cleared my head, and I was like, all right, why anything? Like, why any of it? Like, question everything. And it's like, okay, like you want to serve people. We all do to some level, right? We want to show up as best as we can for everyone. And I was like, all right, well, first of all, like, what do I got to do today that's going to allow me to love myself first, so then I'm not hating on myself, because that's been the big journey for me. And like mapped all that out. It's like, okay, cool. I got to, feel this way, look after my health, look after my fitness, look at my hierarchies. Where am I wanting to balance myself, keeping myself healthy and fit, being emotionally stable, being aware, being conscious, being present, being able to hold a space. And it's like, okay, great. If that's what I need to do today, that's all I need to focus today, because when I get up tomorrow morning, I'm not going to hate myself. So if I don't hate myself tomorrow, then I'm going to be good for others. And then
you're going to love yourself.
Then we're good, It's like we're going to be good for everyone else too. So like that's how it just hit me in sort of one spot. It's good.
And how do you show up differently? By the way, you can like sit back if you like.
Sit back?
Yeah, put the move if it gets a bit easier, like you can move the mic around there. Yeah, like how did you show up differently, and what was the energy received from other people? Do you have like any stories? Or?
Yeah. Look, all in all, a lot changed for me, like overcoming, let's call it drug addiction, right? It initially it wasn't perceived as drug addiction because it's like you're partying on the weekends and like whatever, it's okay. But once
worst drug, alcohol?
Worst?
Yeah. As in like the most temptation for a drug was drinking?
Everything.
Right. Yeah, everything.
Literally everything.
Yep.
Like there was no real cap on it. Yeah.
But the most dangerous one was alcohol, right? Because that'd be the most common because you'd be like one drink would lead to something else, lead to something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like the catalyst.
Yeah.
Definitely the catalyst. So overcoming that was the big thing because like obviously the self-hate comes around all of that and overcoming those things. And as soon as you sort of overcome everything like that and clear everything, then you start looking after your health a little bit more. Then your internal dialogue changes. You start to become more aware of what you're thinking, how you're acting, how you're reacting, what you're feeling, the whole lot. So once you start to, I guess, become conscious of that, it's like, okay, you take a little bit more control over yourself and then you start being more loving to others. So my parents was a big one, like I started taking a bit more responsibility of my own emotions and my own shit. And it's like, cool, I can kind of be the parents that you weren't and give you the love you never had. And then they start to sort of flourish. But yeah, it's a bit confrontational because they're like, oh my God, like what do we do with this love? And like, we're a bit confronted here, like, but it's like, it's okay. But like, then I'm like confronted with my own shit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm still working my own self out. But like, so that's like a bit of an example on like how things start to change because then like tension in the house started changing and like being able to be more of a role model for my brother and like he'd come to me more and lean in a little bit more. So yeah, heaps of stuff.
And you no longer have that vice, that alcohol, that drug to mask your feelings. So you're forced to confront reality and make important decisions in your life. And whether that be as simple as I got to have this conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Normally you just smoke a cone, you'd be like, oh, I'm sweet. I'll just relax. I'm cool now.
Yeah.
I'll go to sleep, worry about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow comes and you're still feeling that resistance to have that conversation, whether it be even making a move in business. Be like, no, I'll just have a few drinks with the lads on the weekend. Don't worry about my job. I'll worry about that Monday.
To be honest, like you're not even worrying about anything. Like it's like, this is my life and I'm happy here. So like, I'm just going to stay here. I don't have to do anything at all until it gets too much. And you're like, oh my God, this isn't good. You have a moment, where it's like
sick of being content.
Yeah, but we're not like somewhat content, uncomfortably content. This is the conversation we're having in the car on the way here. Literally, we're like everything most people do, or even what I was doing, it's like we are not content at all. We're somewhat uncomfortable, but we're comfortable enough in our uncomfortability.
Yes.
Because of all the things that we have. It's like, I'll just do a little bit of this and like drugs, porn, and like I can scroll on Instagram, I can watch a movie. Like if you've got so much stuff and it's like, okay, this is great. I hate what I'm doing right now, but I'm numb for the moment.
Because there's so much you're avoiding.
So much.
And it's like there's so much going on. I think it's in like 2022, 2023. Like there's just so much going on that it's hard to be aware of how much stuff you're just unaware of.
Yeah.
Unless you have like the biggest to-do list. And I think what's really important is just leaning into really difficult conversations.
Yep.
Daniel, Nick, what was some of the stuff that you learned that you'd like to share to other people? Like if you could give them a gift in terms of how to have a difficult conversation that you learned or something that you took out of the course or out of any of the lessons that we learned to have the difficult conversations with other people and then your experience of having the conversation. Do you guys have any examples or anything you'd like to teach?
Oh yeah. Purpose, beauty, danger was massive for me. So just to quickly break down purpose, beauty, danger, sort of like every man has divides their life into 3/3. So you have thrill, you have your purpose, and you have beauty. And beauty is essentially, it can be your partner, it can be like a loving relationship with others, it can be portrayed in art. And so you've got that beauty side of you, that feminine, creative energy. And so you need to have some of that in your life. But if you focus too much on beauty, then you become too attached to your partner, you become too feminine, there's no masculine to balance out that femininity. And so she runs away, essentially. And if you don't have enough thrill in your life, you're not getting that through building a business and in healthy ways, then you start to seek that thrill through what you were talking about, Nick, through drugs and alcohol to mask how you're feeling, and you start to find that in negative ways. So
the temptress creeps in.
Oh yeah, the temptress creeps in. And then purpose, speaking from my own experience, you need to have purpose in your life for what I was speaking about earlier and being attached to something larger than yourself and serving others. But if you focus too much on purpose, which is what I was doing, you start to detach yourself from the other areas. The thrill, or for me, it was beauty. And what I realized is that I had a long-term relationship with my partner. It had been 5 years, and she was starting to feel detached from me. And this was because I had a loving relationship. We didn't have arguments. Everything seemed good on the outside, but did she feel the love? Maybe not so much. And I didn't know that until I started to focus on beauty. I started to put attention for her. I started to build that space for her and allow her to grow. And I started putting attention to her. And for most of my life, I thought focusing on purpose, building this business, building this empire is for her. It's for the kids. It's for everyone. I'm building this for you. But that wasn't the case. And so having a hard look at that forced me to realize that I was lacking beauty in my life. And when I realized that, it sat so deep within me that it was like, I need to fix this. And through everything in my life, to overcome fear is action. You have to do it. And for me, it was like, I can sit in this for the rest of my life. My relationship might even end, or I can have this tough conversation. So I had it. And the boys in the group held me accountable.
I love that.
Easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that, like, we got some applause in the background there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that basically gave you the confidence to sit down and have the conversation that you didn't even know you were avoiding.
That's right. The confidence and the clarity to even have the conversation.
And then, like, what levers did it shift? Like, because I'm assuming every time it's sort of like another step in the hero's journey, right? It's
right.
like you've got meeting with the goddess or taming the temp, whatever the parts of the hero's journey are, and it's like, well, if it's a relationship with beauty, that's probably one of the stages in the hero's journey.
Right.
And that conversation was probably initiation into the next step of the hero's journey, whatever it is. So I'm assuming after that conversation, you were initiated into a new version of you, life changed somewhat. Like, what was the outcome of the results?
Yeah, of course, because every sort of situation in life, especially things that are causing stress in your life, it all takes up time and space in your mind. And so this was occupying time and space in my mind. I was walking around the house. Sometimes she'd come in, she wouldn't look that happy, and I was worried that I was doing something wrong. And so I would struggle to sleep, and then I'd try and fix her problems. And relationships 101, you don't try to fix their problems, you just have to be there for them. And that's another thing I learned. But once I sort of sorted that out, that time and space was cleared for me. I was able to be that energy and that space for her. That was sorted out. I had essentially the freedom to live in the hero's journey, and so I could focus on my purpose. And she was happier as well. So she was happy, I was happier, and I was focusing on my purpose.
And you found a call to a new adventure.
And a call to another adventure.
Oh, shit. What do you think about that, Nick?
I'm still absorbing it all, to be honest. that was a lot to take in. I'm like listening to it all, I'm like reflecting on it myself. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, man, you guys are so impressive. Like,
but it's a lot of growth, right? You know what I mean? It's beautiful.
Huge. And those conversations fall into everything, into business, into life. You have one tough conversation, the next tough conversation's even easier. The next one's even easier. And then you can imagine if you're building this empire, you're gonna have to experience a lot of tough conversations. So you need to be comfortable with that and to grow with that. And every conversation you have, it just gets easier and easier. It's like, I need to have this conversation. I'll just have it. Do it tomorrow.
Boom.
Yeah.
One thing that I like to preach is like balancing your personal life, and then in your professional life, you just get exponential results. What's been your experience of that?
Say that again, sorry.
So I strongly believe in balancing your personal life and like making your personal life amazing. Yep. Getting your house in order, sorting yourself out, your mind, your body, your health, sex drive, everything. Discipline, grit, eating. Sort all of that out. Have the hard conversations. Make sure you're proud of who you are before business or career, whatever it is. And as a byproduct, boom, everything goes like amazing and just starts working really well.
Yep.
What was like the biggest challenge you had to do in your personal life that shifted your professional life?
Sure. So there was, how long ago was it? Probably like 5 or 6 months ago. There was a point, we've obviously had this conversation, but I knew that there was something that was like restricting me. Like something was holding me back, and it was clearly a conversation I had to have, but in my mind, I couldn't work that out. And I was like, okay, like I'm holding a lot of resentment here, you know, with my dad. I'm gonna get a bit vulnerable, but here we go. And I was like, okay, this is an emotion that I can't shake, and it's stopping me from wanting to become the person I want to be. And that doesn't just involve my career and making money and all that kind of stuff. It's just being the person that I wanted to be, right? And I was like, okay, you know, we had the conversation, and it was just evident that I had to have the conversation with my dad. So I was like, okay, great. We ended up writing out a letter. As you help me write it out.
What was the process of writing the letter? So like, if you were to teach someone how you did it, what would you say?
It would be to write the letter to whoever it is that is bothering you, a parent or whatever, with not the aim to blame, but the aim to forgive and the aim to take responsibility. So I think that was the big thing where it's like, okay, for this to change for me, I have to take responsibility for the way it all is, because they're my emotions and I need to be responsible for my emotions so then they can change. So in writing the letter, it was very much of the case of, this is how I feel. I want you to, help me acknowledge what's in this letter, but of the place that it's like, hey, I love you. I forgive you for the past, and it's a loving, forgiving pathway. And that was the intent. And it was a lot easier doing it that way, because like when you're blaming someone, you're not really looking at moving forward. It's like you're stuck in that resentment. So it's like, that's what you're trying to get rid of anyway. So it's like, you got to forgive. But the big thing for me was like, okay, responsibility, and then forgiving myself. It's like, okay, like you deserve better. You don't deserve to feel this anymore. It's not serving you. Like there's tension at home, and like, you're not being who you need to be, and you're not showing up for everyone the way you want to be, because you're just pissed off all the time. Just like there's a niggle at you, and that's where the drugs kick in. It's like, oh, I'll just go do this and whatever. So yeah, I ended up having this conversation with my dad. It took me 3 letters to write. The first one, I was like, we're not going to give him that one.
That was a hate letter, that
one. It was a bit of a hate letter, yeah. And then the second one, I was like, oh, still a bit of a sting in there. So wrote out the third one, and it was professional. It was a professional one, yeah. It's someone that it was the first 2 I couldn't actually give to him because they were nasty. It's like, this is not going to help anyone. And the third one ended up, writing it out, and I messaged him like one Tuesday morning because I knew I'd pull out, and I was like, hey, we need to talk tonight. He's like, well, what about? I said, just our relationship. I was like, oh God, this is hard. And he's like,
how did you feel?
It was just gross. I remember sitting in the hallway at work, and I was like, oh God, feeling all of these things, right?
Yeah, I feel that as you're talking about it.
Just like squirming.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
squirming.
Yeah, right before you get into a difficult conversation, it's like, oh, I just want to back out.
Yeah.
So bad.
But I'm like, if I message him, I can't back out at home.
Yeah.
It's like, all right. And I walk in the house Tuesday night, and like, he's like not wanting to acknowledge anything. He's like, he doesn't want to have this conversation. I don't want to have this conversation, but I've committed now. Like I've said I needed to. Got the letter out, and I just sat down, and like I just had my heart in my throat. And I specifically remember like a sentence in The Way of the Superior Man, when it's like, you need to live to your edge. You need to get past that point of that emotions. Like when you're leaning in, lean in, and just like surrender to it. Like it's going to be all good. You know what I mean?
The whole front surface of your body. Whatever you're
Jump
swinging
in.
at me, it's going to hit.
And just to add to that, I feel like you need to come from a point of your goal is for him to understand how you're feeling and to achieve that goal of resolving the issue. And you can't resolve that issue if you're being attacking and you're attacking his ego, because he's just going to react back and he's going to fire back. So you need to come from a place of, this is how I feel, and I would like you to understand.
Yeah. And genuinely, like, I love you, because at the end of the day, man, like, regardless, we're all going to have love for our parents on a deep level. And not only do we want to love them, like we want them to love us too. So like, that's always going to be there. So it's like, do you know what? It's at least acknowledge that. And then like, that's uncomfortable to acknowledge too, So even saying that, it's like 25 years of just like us not being emotional at all, And I sat down and given him this letter. I was like, I'm about to tell this guy I love him. But it's like, it's the truth, as uncomfortable as it is. So and yeah, I just had that conversation, handed him the letter, and I said, look, at the end of the day, man, like, this isn't good for me. It's not good for you. It's not good for no one at home. It's not good for anything. Like, you don't deserve to feel what you're feeling and like having that tension. I don't deserve it. Like, just read the letter. I'd love if you could acknowledge the letter. It would help me through the process. And it was a tough conversation, but it got better, And he ended up just telling me a heap of his own stuff, and we just spoke about life and his past and everything. And my mum sat down, and like the house, like everything just felt light at home. I was like, okay, this is finally, like, this is nice. It's pleasant. You know what I mean? Like, the resentment's gone. Like, the hatred doesn't have to be there. And it's just like, done. See you later. And then everything changed. my whole life changed.
You just cleared so much shit.
So
well,
much.
what was the outcome? Like, what was the transformation? Like, what was different after you had that?
I was owning my space. Like I was owning my heart, like me. Like I was able to then go, okay, I've cleared one of the heaviest things that I've had to clear. And now it's like I can step into my life and look at things the way I want to look at them, not looking at them from a place of like what I think I should be or how should I be looking at this, what, you know, the pressures that we get put on our parents, right? So I'm going back to this whole thing again, but it's just the way it is, you know, like we're conditioned to think away and feel away, and this is how life has to be. And all of a sudden you resolve that issue with that person, and then it's like, wait a minute, I can choose how I want to think right now. And then I'm looking at my life and I'm like, you know, going to work and I'm like, why am I here? do I want to do this? I don't know. Like, do I like it? Do I not like it? Does this serve me? Does it not? Do I care about money? Is any of that important? Like relationships, women, like what's the go here, dude? You know, it's like, I'm like, all right. Like what? And that's where the purpose pops up, right? It's all of a sudden I'm like questioning everything.
Why do I exist?
Why do I exist? Like, why am I even here? Like, when my alarm goes off in the morning, I'm looking at my phone and I'm snoozing it because I don't want to get up. It's like, why am I even getting up out of bed?
What's the point?
That's the point. And then everything started to change. I was like, okay, get clear on my purpose. Like, what do I want out of myself? Who do I want to be?
What's the point?
The point for me personally, and I think every man on every level sort of resonates with this, is we just want to create a good community, hence what you've created. But we all on some level want to do the same thing. We want everyone around us to feel super enlightened and super alive and free from their own crap. And we want to be able to step up as leaders to show them that they can, you know, by going through what we've gone through. And that's for me, you know, going down the whole breathwork path as well, which helped me clear a lot of things. It's like, okay, I've been able to experience this beautiful spiritual breakthrough through breathwork, and then bringing it in with what we've learned in the course and the coaching. And it's like, I got to give this back. It's not for me. Like, how pointless if I keep this to myself. Like, it's completely, it's worthless. And the purpose is, yeah, but to cut it short, for me, my purpose is to be able to lead those people that want more for themselves.
So when you wake up, what's it like now?
Look, at the moment, there's a big transition going on for me. So I'm very much in the space of like keeping on top of my health, my mental health, and giving love to those as much as I can, and having as many deep conversations and purposeful conversations with people as I can.
How do you feel after a deep conversation with a friend?
Super refreshed. It's
Feels
refreshing. Good. And especially when you see someone, yeah, he feels good. Like this right now, it feels great, you know.
Yeah.
We're talking real stuff. But when you see someone overcome something in front of you, or like they're like, oh my God, you made me feel better. That makes sense. I didn't think of it that way. And I'm like, yes, thank you. You got this. You know
That's right. And then, so you inspire people to understand that for themselves. Yep. You're not teaching anyone anything. You're just inspiring them and helping them understand themselves to get the answers for themselves. And this is the whole point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've all got that strength in us, right? It's just we don't believe we do, or some don't, you know, until we get to that point.
Some of us just don't want to look deep enough as well. It's deep questions. Why do you exist? Most people don't want to answer that. Most people don't even want to think about that.
Well, I think men particularly, like in my experience, there's a lot of women that I work with. They're like, deep stuff's obvious. Duh.
Right.
We feel it all the time. But for us guys, because we think first and then feel after, girls feel first and think after, majority of the time. I think we lack a little bit of depth.
Right, we do. Because that unconscious is feminine in nature. And the rational, analytical, let's build a business is quite masculine. So for a man to understand his unconscious feminine side takes a lot of work, takes a lot of deep understanding. For a female, it's like, of course I feel like this. And for men, it's like feelings. Like, man, I don't know what I feel. What are emotions?
That's just the belief though, right?
Pretty sure I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, content. Yeah, happy. Just going through the motions day after day, not feeling the true depth of what it's like,
normal.
You know. Yeah, normal. Diving really deep into your mind and actually understanding, you know, your psyche and friendships and conversations. And I know, like, Daniel, your transformation's been crazy. I'd love to know for you, what was the difference between you from this, like at the start of the program, like who you were, and And then what's the difference now? And then what was it like, because you're having deep conversations, like just meeting Nick straight away?
Oh, what a question. Okay, well, so when I started the course, I was doing a lot of personal development work on my own, reading books. But I got to this transition where I was like, I've been doing all this work and a lot of people are talking about finding your purpose. And I think that's something I want to find out for myself. And when I found out my purpose, I was able to get so much clarity and I started heading towards my main goal. And once I started heading towards my goal and my vision and serving others, I felt better in the morning. And then I was able to hold space to work in other areas of my life. I started fixing my relationship, and then naturally, like finance started walking into my life. And
why do you think that is? Because I remember when you first come in, you were like, Corey, I read all this shit.
Yep.
It all just goes. Like, I can't remember anything. And I was like, don't worry, bro. By the time you get to the end of the course, you're going to remember everything. And now Daniel's brain is like a walking encyclopedia. It's like a walking encyclopedia of facts. Yeah, right?
For sure.
He's like a walking encyclopedia. He's like, I remember goddamn everything. So I'd love to know like how that served you to hear, and then what it was like, you know, because I love us talking about deep conversations and how power it is, connection, community, and then obviously meeting Nick.
Yeah, wow, that is a big thing. So that was one of the things I said to you. I said, I want to accomplish a few things in this. One of them is I want to believe in myself. The other one was I want clarity. I want like vision. I want to know where I'm going. And the other thing is I got this strange thing that when I read books, I'll finish the book and I'm like, someone will say, what was that book about? I'm like, oh, something about like love or forgiveness. I don't really know. I can't really recite that back to you. And then as I was going through the course.
Did we get a tick for all three, by the way?
We got a tick for all three.
Yeah, baby.
And the thing is, two of these were cross-connected as well. What I didn't realize is I was learning techniques on how to read faster, how to remember more, but it wasn't until I believed in myself. The self-belief is what gave me that memory. Yeah. Because then now I read books and I don't think, oh, that's a nugget, I got to quickly write that down. And I would be storing my memory on paper and I wouldn't actually be storing it in my mind. And when I started believing in myself, I was reading, say, for 25 minutes, a Pomodoro, learning that the optimal time to read is between 10 and 40 minutes. So I was doing these 25-minute reading sessions, taking notes after. And as I was taking notes after what I was read, instead of having no idea what I read, I was writing it all down, all the important information, and I'd go back over what I'd highlighted, and it was all there on paper. And then I just started reading books and talking about it, and I'm like, I remember all this. It's in here. And then I started remembering things even before the course that are just in my brain, but they were just stuck somewhere in my unconscious or my subconscious.
And you embodied it.
And I embodied it. Yeah, I started living it. And I started posting about it, started getting over my fear, and as I started to create with this information, it just stuck.
Dude, because one thing that you've had is confidence posting on social media. Which a lot of people say can have. You've chased your dreams. You've gone on to, which I believe part of the hero journey in the modern man is entrepreneurship, and it's working out well for you. So tell us a little bit about that, power of conversations, and then meeting Nick.
Power of conversations and then meeting Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I found was the best way for me to learn was to express this to other people, because it forces me to recite this information, use good vocabulary as well as I'm speaking so that people understand the message I'm portraying. And as I'm saying this to people on my Instagram stories, like so fear driven. The first time I ever spoke, I looked like a 12-year-old kid that was just sweating and so scary. Yeah. So scary.
I know Nick's feeling this right now. He's like, God damn.
And now I'm at the point. Yeah, I'm at the point now. I just pull out my phone. I've just read 20 minutes and I just recite what was in the book, and I'm like, I hope this helps somebody. And as I'm creating and I'm like using my mind on a platform where I can create and share it with others, it's just been so profound in my personal growth. And because my purpose is aligned with serving community and serving other people, live an unlimited life, and for them to overcome limiting beliefs, for me to express that to people, the best way in nowadays is through video. And so if I want to serve these people, I have to get comfortable with video.
And you're doing great.
Thanks, Nick. And so when I met you, this was at a point in time where I sorted a lot of my shit out. Like I was on this journey. I was starting to get money, and the first time I met you, I was very excited because we'd had a few conversations in the group about some like deep conversations. And like obviously Nick's a breathwork coach. He literally He literally sits with people and trains them to go past the rational, analytical mind into their unconscious to like find out all sorts of things about someone. And if someone's not showing up as their true self, they'll find that in a breathwork session, and they'll find that in a shroom trip or whatever they want to do, but ideally without drugs in a breathwork session.
Yeah.
And so when I first met Nick, it was just such an uplifting conversation, and it just feels like you accomplish so much out of a conversation. And I've often said, if you can have a good conversation with someone, it's better than you spending time reading a book. Because sometimes I was always caught up in my mind, like, oh no, I got to read. Yeah. I got to do this. I got to work on my business. But then I'll get out of a conversation with someone like Nick or someone like you, Corey. But like, you know, that was actually better than a book. I just learned all these books from what Nick was telling me about what he read or what he's experienced.
That's profound. Yeah. What about you? Because I think it's beautiful, man. Like I think having the power of like a community and enhancing a power of just like elite people who are all focused on the same goal, speaking the same language is like, ooh, like every time I meet one of you guys, like, or just chat to anyone, if I haven't like talked to them too much, we chat, it's like immediately all talking about the same stuff.
Yep.
Like just diving in deep to having like transformational conversations. And it could be like a 10-minute conversation and it's like we figured some shit out like immediately in terms of direction where we need to go, or some unconscious thing that's like just getting in the way, and it's like, oh, there's a target and we've already taken a shot at it. In 10 minutes. So for you, like, what do you guys think it's like sort of meeting people in the course, and what was it like meeting Daniel as well?
I was actually saying this in the car, today. I was like, it's just really, I was having a moment of gratitude. I was like, I'm grateful, and the sun's out, and how beautiful is like the community that like you've created, like all of us.
We've created.
We have, correct. We've created it. We have created it. And it's just very uplifting because, as Daniel said, like having a good conversation is just as good as reading a book. Like we sat, I don't know, like
it got to like 3 o'clock. We caught up at 10.
Yeah. It was like 4 or 5 hours.
Because of a 5-hour chat.
We gotta go do some stuff.
But after it, I was so like, I had taken in so much because I was giving value, I was getting value, we were also reflecting and talking about our personal lives, and with everything we've learned, it's like you can go into that week or into the next few days more conscious. You're more aware of so much more, and it's just a powerful thing, and it's energizing, especially when you're extroverted and you bounce off of people, and especially when they're talking your language as well. It's like, give me more. I can have so much of this, and not only that, you build connection at the same time,
And sorry to cut you off, but you sort each other's problems out.
Yes.
Like I have this issue, and you're like, well, why don't you just do this?
Yes.
Like, oh my god, it's so simple.
Yes. Well, because you can both see it, right? Because
Yeah.
you've done the work and you've done the work, and sometimes we need a mirror reflection on something, and it's like I'm just not clear on something, and I need someone who knows the same stuff as me just to tell me what I can't see right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think that helps you like set a new standard for yourself and others?
Of course it does, because it keeps you realigned. It doesn't let you stray. When you stray, then you start questioning yourself and questioning the journey and questioning what you're doing. It's like, am I going too far with this stuff? Like, am I going crazy? am I thinking too much? Like, I have a conversation with someone, my family, for instance, around a dinner table, and they're just like, life isn't that hard. Why are you making things so hard? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to be as conscious as I can. Like, they're just like, no, that's just so stressful. Why are you doing this? And I'm like, wait a minute. Like I have to have, you have a thought. It's like, mate.
Let me talk to one of the bros in the group.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Daniel, just very quickly. Where is my ego right now? And it's just like, it's like, great, I'm not going nuts.
Just quick check, psych check. Am I all good, or do I need to check it? Like, am I things like, no. Yep. Like your version of what everyone perceives to not be normal is the most normal.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Like even George was saying, what's up, George? He was saying last night, he's like, dude, all your friends, like, think you're a bit loopy, eh? And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I think you're a little bit loopy. And he's like, I was like, you guys, George said, he was like, you should get to know more. He's probably not that loopy, eh?
And
And I was like,
you hear
good,
that
thanks
all
for
the
saying that, for confirming. God
Thank the
damn.
Lord, yeah.
You hear that all the time. Like the five people you hang around most is the person you become. Like you hear that like when I was first starting my journey, it was just listening to like Les Brown, Tony Robbins, and it was always the same thing. Like your environment shapes your reality. The people you hang around shape your reality. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I don't actually like. I can't just approach Les Brown and be like, hey man, can I be your friend because I'm trying to get my 5 best friends in order.
Can I just slide into your
Like,
DMs for a question, please, bro?
And that's why the community is such a blessing because you've got these people around you and you can talk to them and like you said, you don't stray from your path. You're aligned and like I said, they help you as well. Like you've got certain issues and you can talk to them about it. And a lot of the time, them solving your problem isn't necessarily them giving you the answer, but it's them asking you powerful questions and you sitting there like, okay, this is how I sort it out. And sometimes you need to go home and reflect that, but you come up with the answer. Then you move on. You free the space in your mind where you're thinking about all this stuff. You're thinking about some sort of relationship with someone. And it's been toxic for ages. Like I had a toxic relationship with a very close friend of mine, and we'd had this relationship for years and years and years, and it sort of started to get worse and worse and worse until it got to a point as I'm starting to change as well, and obviously he's changing. We needed to have this conversation. Since having this conversation, we're best friends again.
Yeah, awesome.
It's amazing. And now it's like now I'm not constantly worried about what he's thinking, and I can clear that space and I can go focus on something else. Another call to adventure.
It's powerful stuff.
Right.
And we done like both you guys have dove pretty deep. We did a lot of one-on-one with Nick, and Daniel read some pretty deep books and did some pretty insane study. And you guys have both presented in the community, and you've had like crazy deep conversations. And I know like a lot of stuff that we said may have like related to people, but I want to just like challenge to see like how deep we can go for a bit, and sort of highlight some areas that I think would be really powerful in terms of, you know, what were some of the most powerful things you guys learn about yourselves, and how did you land on them? And what were some of the lessons that you learned?
So for me, I would definitely say it's identifying what your ego is and where it shows up and how it does. And what I mean by that, what I started when I was going through the questioning of like, why am I? Why am I Nick? Who is Nick? You know, what is this? And you start to then go back and understand, okay, well, you believe this about yourself, you believe this about the world, you believe this about other people.
Oh, would you mind using your money thing as an example?
Sure,
that
yeah.
was sick.
Yes,
Nick's
yes.
relationship with money. But how did you land on it? Like in terms of, was it shadow work? Was it looking at your anima and anima? Was it simply just ego? What was it about it which made you highlight it and land there? And how did you shift?
So I grew up in a family that's well off. We're okay, you know, so big this money.
White privileged
Yeah,
boy.
well, yeah, right. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, cash. Like everything's about money, right? And you grow up thinking that that's of value, and like that's all the value that there is. You know, like if I have money, I am successful, and that's what I was told growing up. It's like, oh, if you do well in business and you make lots of money, then you're good enough for everything. Like that's all you need. So I had this attachment to money, and it's like, all right, well, I need a fancy watch, I need the nice car, I need to make sure I look rich as and look cool, and like so then I get validated by everyone, and this is who I am, and nothing else matters. I can be who I want if I've got money, and just chase that. And as soon as I started questioning that, I was like why does this even matter? You know? But that was straight after having that conversation with my dad, because like, again, for me, I had an attachment to money. Money was approval. We all, I seeked approval from my dad. I didn't get it. So it's like, there's that belief, and that's where my ego is like entrenched there. It's like, you are someone who needs to be successful and make money, so you're approved by the world, by your father, right? And I started to break that down. I was like, wait a minute. That's not who I am. That's not what I really value. I love people. I love humans. Like, we're all so beautiful in our own way. So why don't I connect with them deeply to be able to help them understand themselves? So that's where like I slashed that ego,
I could imagine that you were like so sad for a period of time after chasing something like materialistic, when you're someone who just has like such a big heart and you do value people over money. Chasing that would have just like
drugs,
been hell for a bit.
Just bad relationships, taking drugs, and just like going down that path and ignoring what you're feeling.
Because you wanted to feel something.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you want the connection, right? That's what I wanted anyway. You know, I
Is
wanted
it like camaraderie? Is it companionship? Was it just a feeling of being close to others? Was it like, what were you seeking?
like I'm gonna use a big word,
Yeah.
but it's like oneness, right? Like unity. That's everything and everyone connected as one positive being of light. Right? Like we're all
Fuck yeah.
connected right now in a beautiful way, you know.
When did you first come to that realization? What made you realize that? Because I imagine at a point in time in your life, you didn't think that. Like a lot of us think we're just this individual, and is that the ego?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. The ego definitely disidentifies from all of that, but there's always an alarm signal. There's always something telling you like you value more, or when you have an interaction with someone and you value that conversation so much and you get so much happiness out of someone, you know, seeing them happy. It's like I see someone happy, I'm like, go you, like be happy, be as happy as you possibly can, you know. And when you start to see that and you connect with that deeper than anything else, it's like, okay, well, my belief is here of what I think I am with all the material stuff that I'm attaching myself to and all the things I'm feeling that I think make me feel good, they're just numbing me, opposed to when you see someone do really, really well, or if you're involved in a conversation where they're doing really, really well and you get that connection with someone and a bit of a level of intimacy and you're like, oh, that lights me up. It's like, okay, well, that ego's over here clearly, and like the truth is over here, you know. And that's when you start to become conscious of that by questioning me. Like had to question myself to be like, oh, wait a minute.
Right. So
that's not real.
So this almost made you aware of like the transfer of energy, so that if you were giving something to someone, that was coming back to you. And so so that sort of bridged the gap to you believing that it's not just about me. We're actually connected to everyone, and this is oneness. And you first found that out by saying, oh, if I do something for this one and it fulfills me and makes me happy, somehow we're connected. Somehow there's some sort of energy transfer.
Yep. And I think the big thing as well for me, I started like just connecting with myself like on a deeper level. I started to look at what I used to hate about myself, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to love that too. It's okay. I'm going to be all right with all those things that I did and the person that I was, and all those things I really hated myself about, and really start to integrate the shadow, right? And then like the inner child, like that little kid that didn't get what he needed, and all those things that cause us distress, you like start to love that little dude as well. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm feeling okay now. I'm starting to feel like really connected and loving to myself. And then you start to value loving others and those connections. And then like ego study is like, oh, well, I'm going to do whatever I can to fuck this up for you. And it sneaks in, don't get me wrong, it still sneaks in here and there. And I think that's probably my biggest take home, is being conscious of your ego will do whatever it can to bring you back, you know, and loving the ego is also, well, ego consciousness is what you were saying in the car. Being conscious of the ego, right? And forgiving it and being like, that's okay. Like, this is what you were, and it's going to grow with you, and just love it every time it shows up, and that's all right.
It's trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Dude, I just want to publicly acknowledge you real quickly, because you healed your relationship with drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
You healed your relationship with girls. You healed your relationship with your parents. You healed your relationship with work. And now you're going down, you know, a path where you almost finished a breathwork coach, and you're chasing, you know, doing everything that you can to chase connection and bring connection in other people and help them understand their own consciousness and ego. What? How does that feel in your body? You should be so proud.
Yeah,
bro.
it was overwhelming.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming.
And it's inspiring.
It's hard to take it in though sometimes.
Take it in right now.
know?
Just take a breath in. Close your eyes, you have to. You deserve it, bro. Guys, Nick is a fucking stud. Like, transformed his whole life in like 11 months. Every relationship with not just people, like everything.
Thanks, bro.
And you did the same.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
Daniel did the same. He had to change the relationship with women, change the relationship with money, and now it's coming in abundantly. Changes. Did you have stuff with parents or not really? You had with a lot of friendships.
Yeah, friendships. I did tell my dad that I loved him in a text, which is very uncomfortable. It didn't really do a lot, but it felt good for me.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh yeah, cool. But like it felt good for me, and I think internally he started my dad started showing up to my soccer games with a lot more love, and he was just happy.
That's awesome.
He was just talking to all his mates and stuff. He never really said much to me, but I saw it in him, so that was nice.
Look at that impact.
Dude,
yeah.
The biggest thing I want to acknowledge about Daniel was when he come to me and with your, just a quick story on Daniel, he lost his ability to seek intelligence and really want to do well and be intelligent because you got judged at school. I remember that you talking about it from a teacher.
Right.
A teacher judged you. And you went from being like really smart at school to someone who was smoking weed and felt dopey and you felt dumb.
Yes.
You felt dumb. You're like, I can't remember shit, whatever this was because of the self-belief thing.
Yeah.
You're like one of the smartest people I know now.
Yep.
Hands down.
How smart is Daniel?
Hands down.
You're so intelligent, bro. Like you went through this period when you're like, okay, I'm going to like, I think you really value intelligence. Am I right?
I do.
Yeah. And now you're like intelligence.
Learning and growing is my second highest value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like crazy. And he's so intelligent now. Dude, you're so intelligent. How does it feel?
And that feels good. And that acknowledgement feels good too. Yeah. Soak it all in.
Wrap it up, bro.
Dude, we all see it.
Yep.
George,
Beautiful.
Adam, how intelligent is Daniel?
Oh, bro, just listening now, that's wild. Because I've known Daniel from before as well, like,
Yeah.
from the Downs and stuff.
Yeah, George was saying he's known him from before and just listening to Daniel talk is wild. I know everyone's
Way
probably
back.
listening to now is like, well, every time Daniel speaks, he's like, sounds so smart right now. It's like he learned some really big words. He's been reading the dictionary.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
To be fair, I didn't know you before. I didn't know you even thought you were stupid. And
No.
I'm like, wait, what? You thought you had that belief?
right.
Because you
to-
rocked
to a
me,
degree.
man. I was like, well, you say some things. I'm like,
I got so many things playing in my head that I want to cover, but just to where do I start? So I just want to quickly touch on that self-belief because we're on the topic.
Yes.
So for me, we got to the point of creation. There's a part in the course where you have to create something because that's how you retain memory.
Week 6, create yourself, baby.
That's it. And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I was thinking about what I want to create. I'm building this Ape Fit business, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll create an ebook. Maybe I'll create an ebook, and I'm not really an author. Well, actually, that was playing in my head, but I didn't know it. And so I went to sit down to this ebook, and I kept putting it off. And so I've got the area where I have my desk here, and then I've got the hallway, and I kept walking past, looking at the laptop, like, oh, I should probably do that. Oh, I might grab a snack. I go grab a snack, and then I jump back outside. I'm like, why can't I walk into this room and do it? And then I sat down outside. And I was like, I don't think I've gone deep enough along my limiting beliefs and like my whole belief system. And so I sat down, and it's as boring as it sounds. And I sat on the grass for like 3 hours in the sun, like, why am I not doing this? All right, well, every time I go past, there's like this thought that quickly passes by my mind. And the thought is, no one's going to read this. And I'm not smart enough to be an author. And like,
worthy.
Yeah, or worthy. I'm not worthy. And so I sat down and I'm like, why is this? Why do I have this struggle? Because there's other people out there that love to do that. And then I sat down and I was like, where did I struggle with self-belief around writing and around English? And I was like, you know what? I remember in year 10, no, actually, I remember in year 9, I got like academic, like English academic award of the whole year. And so I did really well in English. Then I got straight A's in year 10, and even year 11, I started to get like A's in English. And so I was always good at English. And then I got to year 12, and the first assignment I did, I got a C minus. And it was a different English teacher. And I had a feeling she didn't really like me, but maybe it was my work, but we'll leave that for whoever to decide. And but essentially, because I got that C minus, I stopped trying. And so my work became poor. And so obviously my grades became poor. And then I started to lose the belief that I wasn't intelligent and I wasn't smart. And so when it came to things like writing the ebook, I realized I was putting this off because I don't believe I can do it.
The fact that you even got that far back to the root of where it happens,
Right.
like, that I'm
Right.
very impressed.
And it's things like
hectic.
and it's
That's
things like
hectic.
this that look so simple because I explain it here and they're like, of course, man, you got good grades, and then you got into a period where you weren't getting good grades. That's obvious. And it's like, no, it wasn't obvious because your ego tries to hide this from you.
Yes.
Your ego wants you to be safe.
Yep.
It creates reasons as to why you can't do something, and then you just adopt those reasons, and they just become part of your identity, which is your ego. And so to go back and do that, and then as soon as I acknowledged that, the next day I was walking past the desk and I just went in there and started typing. And I was like, wow, that was it. That was it.
You
Just
you
had to
smash
bring
that
awareness
ebook
to it.
out or what?
Yeah. I started smashing the ebook out, and then I had some further conversations with friends and realizing, like, I don't know if people are going to read this novel on tools for life. Like the idea these days, most people are following like video content, and then I started to shift my direction a little bit, but it was from a place of desire and what I wanted to do and what would work, not from a place of I don't think I can do this. But I smashed an ebook on sleep. I just got to finish it off. Just to quickly touch on what you were saying, because I wanted to explain this before, about the ego triangle in the course. it was kind of like branching this conscious to unconscious, because as you start to figure out yourself and we are all one and we are all love, sometimes you can get caught up with that and you don't actually create action in your life. Yep. And the only way to create action with your life is the job of the ego. The ego needs to do that. That's the physical part of you that actually gets stuff done. And so if you can increase your ego consciousness and you can increase your masculinity, then your ego can go and do the work for you. And essentially, for those that don't know, you've got the ego triangle, you've got self-awareness, you've got the unconscious, and then you've got conscious. And essentially what I'm getting at is you need to branch your ego consciousness with your unconscious understanding of your true self and who you are. And once you can bridge that gap and find out who you are, what your purpose is, where you want to go, and tie that into your ego and say, now ego, go to work, actually do this stuff, actually provide for the world. Then you just start doing that. You start embodying who you truly are. And people see that, people are inspired. And they're like, hey man, I really like your content. Can we talk about working with you? And then money just starts to flow for you. I'm at the point now where I'm not even really monitoring my finances. I probably should a bit more, and I'm going to get onto that. But like, I check my bank account and there's always money there. And so it's like working, and it's like, wow, it's like I'm not even trying. I'm just being my best self, and I'm just heading towards where I know is going to work, and it's just coming. It's just coming.
Yeah, baby.
Oh yeah.
How does that inspire you?
Well, I needed that. That's what I'm needing right now, to be honest.
Right, you're in that transition phase.
I'm listening, yeah. So it's very much of the space, like I've gone back and I've reevaluated, but now it's like masculine activation, right? It's really not being passive and starting to really lean into the ego in a healthy way. Like you got to reintegrate it because you never get rid of it, right?
You've gone inward, so it's now time to go outward.
Outwards,
because you were living so
self-awareness.
outward.
Yep.
You were already living in the outward so much. You've gone inwards. Now it's time to bring that outwards. Exactly the hero's journey. Yep. It's like you've driven into the unconscious. You've gotten the gold. Now it's time to bring it back, baby.
The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, baby.
Yeah. So what Daniel was talking about before when he said like the ego triangle is meaning the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. So essentially how I'd explain that is there is parts of yourself that you are unaware of and you don't know what they are. And when you do bring them to the surface and you start to understand what they are, you attack them and you push it to the edge as far as you can. And then you don't know what is enough until you know what is more than enough. And when you figure out what is more than enough, then that's now conscious and you can make a decision on it. Like you've gone inwards for so long, Nick. Yep. For so long. You've gone inwards for so long.
Deep.
He's gone so deep. Like, he's gone so deep. He's aware of so much. I can't imagine what it's like in that brain. and now it's like, okay, you've got the gift, you've got the boon. Let's bring it back and share it. And that's a whole nother journey because it's hard to share it with people because obviously the story of, Zarathustra is Zarathustra come down from the mountains with the gold to share to wisdom and humanity. And he saw this speaker acting on a stage, talking all these things. And he goes, oh, I'm going to get up there and tell all the people of the world. And everyone was watching this guy on the stage. And if I picture this in terms of people on the couch watching the news. And then he jumps on the stage, Zarathustra jumps on the stage and says, behold, humans, I have found the secret to life. And everyone goes, shut up. Fuck off. We don't care, Zarathustra. It's like us, when we share something that's like really powerful on social media, whatever it is, and everyone's like, shut up. Yeah.
I'm getting to that point as well. I'm trying to bring self-awareness to that. Sometimes I'll share things and I'm like, okay, you need to like express this in a way where people can understand. You're just speaking gibberish right now.
Yeah. You have no idea how much me and George have been working on this in terms of trying to find like the right copy, like ad copy and like what we actually do and how to communicate it through ads and like our content. Like we spend so long like, all right, this is what we do. Now, how can we put this into like layman's terms so people can understand how we can actually solve their problems instead of going so deep all the time. Like, I don't know what you talk about, but your energy's good, bro. So I'm going to jump on it.
Sounds good to me.
So it's quickly absorbed as well. Like that's the one thing I'm really looking at now. It's like, okay, don't go too, probably not posting enough anyway, but it's when I do post, it's like, what can you say that's going to be absorbed in a way? It's like, they don't know what you're talking about. They may not even care at that point when they come across it. So like you got to say something so it they can absorb it there and then. It's practical.
And you need that hook point. You need to identify their problem.
Yes.
Because they need a real world example of like, not like my ego showing up. They're like, no, I don't have an ego. What are you talking about?
Like, what is
I don't
that?
even know what an ego is.
Yes.
But if you say like, if you give them a real world example, like, are you sitting on your phone? Like, I think you spoke about this recently, like before getting out your car, you come home from work and are you sitting on your phone before actually walking out of your car? Use real world examples like that. And they're like, oh yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
And then you speak about it and they're like, oh, that's why. And that's how I can fix it.
Yeah, that's like, you're possessed by a magician, bro.
Like, if you started it like that, people would be like, what? No.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. It's like, I love that though. I love the language of saying that we're possessed, because I think we do get possessed by unconscious all the time. And I love using it all the time. I'm like, oh, I've been doing all these things that have been so unconscious right now. I look back and everything and go, oh, all those decisions are so stupid. It's like, you're possessed.
Yeah.
I was just possessed by my own mind. God damn. I would really like to know on both you guys, like what is the thing that you are both most proud of that you've achieved, like within the program, that might have been stepping out of your comfort zone?
Well, I'll begin. I've mentioned a lot of the things that I'm most proud of, but not to recap on what I've just said, I'll just use another example because there are so many life-changing aspects in the program. One thing for me, oh God, there's so many. So the hero's journey was one, but I'll just speak on the archetypes real quick and the shadow. So one thing that when I was doing the course, I understood the archetypes, the king, warrior, magician, lover, and I started to understand that I need to fulfill myself and supercharge myself through lover energy. So my warrior within me doesn't get so burnt out. And essentially, just to break it down real simply, archetypes are essentially like like personality traits that we have within us that we've adopted through human history, through what's called a collective unconscious. And so we carry within us certain modes of being, like warrior, like attacking, working, crushing
And
things.
you can label them whatever you want. It's just
Right.
you've been labeled this thing. It's just for us to
Right.
have a reference point.
Right, and that's it. And as I started to learn about the archetypes, I came across the shadow. And how the shadow showed up for me is, even though I started to believe in myself a lot, I was still comparing myself to people that were higher up on me, people that were, say, doing better, in my opinion. I wasn't working with them. I was comparing myself. And as I started to identify what the shadow was, and that's basically every time you're displaying negative energy towards someone else, that's a sign that the shadow is in play. And that's like a part of your personality that you don't necessarily want to look at. It's uncomfortable. It's like a bitter pill, swallowing that. It's like you believe that you're so good to everybody. You believe you're integral. But not everyone sees you like that. Teachers don't maybe see you like that. Your parents maybe they don't see you like that. And other people, they see these qualities about you that aren't so good, but you don't want to look at that within. And so if you can find yourself looking negatively towards other people, you need to question yourself, why? And so for me, there were certain people that I would look at and I would have a real issue with people that were arrogant. And obviously there's so many issues and personality traits that you can be, that you don't necessarily agree with. But for me, I took a disliking to people that were arrogant. And I was like, why is that? Why do I have a problem with this person? He's not doing any harm to the world. And then I found out, I said he's arrogant. I'm like, well, am I arrogant? No, I'm not arrogant. And then I realized
That's arrogant.
that is arrogance. Yeah. And then, but for me, I defined what arrogance was. And I said, well, it's just like, in another sense, it's just someone that's very confident. Yeah. They're very confident in themselves. And then I looked at myself and I'm like, you know what? I'm not really that confident. I could be much more confident. And as soon as I brought awareness to that, I became much more confident. It was as simple as that. I started doing things that would increase my confidence, and I started putting myself out there on social media. So I'm like, I need to be confident, so I need to embody that so I can become confident.
What about the presentation in the course? Like, you guys both presented, was that hectic?
For me, it was, that was confronting for me, for sure, because I've just never done anything like that before. The big thing for that, in that situation more so, was like, what do you have to talk about? It's like overcoming like the whole imposter syndrome thing. It's like,
I'm not worthy.
No way.
I never went to uni. I do
like,
presentations.
I'm going to do a presentation about like, the ego and the transition. Is like, who's going to want to listen to that? So it's like having to really overcome that.
What was it like when you did? What was the response you got from everybody?
Oh, it was very impressive and welcoming. It was very welcoming, and a lot of people resonated too. But even throughout the presentation, I was like catching myself out. It's like, my old beliefs are coming in. It's like, shut up, dude. But it's just to sort of like lean in and it was confronting, but it was enjoyable, and I'm glad I did it for sure.
What are you most proud of doing it in the course? Or doing anything in the
There's
program?
definitely a lot. I think the big one was overcoming just the drug addiction, man, straight out. That would have to be the biggest one. It was like week 4, I think it was, or week 5, where I'd gone out that weekend and I just
Binged.
I binged it was like 3 days.
Ew.
Yeah,
Yeah, your face right now.
Yeah, it was rotten, right? It was gross, but that's okay, you know. Like I gotta love that bit. But at the time, it was like I remember waking up on a couch on a Monday morning or something. It was like on someone else's couch, and I was like hungover, and I was like looking up at the ceiling, and I was like my throat was dry, and I felt sick, and it's like, what are you doing, you know? And reflecting on week 5, I think it was purpose, beauty, danger on that week. Is that week 5?
Yes, week 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all kind of just tied in with everything. And it's like, this is a problem. Like,
I'm admitting it.
yeah, like
We have a problem.
you have an addiction. Like just because it's socially acceptable that on the weekends you go out and you.
It doesn't have to be that either. A lot of people I work with too, it's working. They're just addicted to working too much.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Sorry, please continue.
No, that's okay. And just acknowledging that was like, okay, this is a problem, and I then had to reflect back, and it's like my relationship and how I was showing up there, and it's like, you're a piece of shit, you know. It's like you were just not present, you weren't there, you weren't even conscious of masculine, feminine energy. That was, you know, though having purpose, danger, beauty, and then understanding the masculine, the feminine, and how then the feminine has its own personality within the masculine, the anima. Being able to identify all of that for me, it's like that's when like shit really started to change. It's like, okay, wait a minute, like you got to stop the drugs. That just needs to stop anyway. That's got to go. Crush that, and I just started to forgive all those parts about myself. It's like, that's okay. You've done that now. Just embrace the shadow. It's all good. You weren't there for the relationship, but that's okay as well. Like you were doing what you knew to do at the time. It is what it is. You got to move forward. Like you can't hang guilt over your head over this because you're just going to stay here. And once I could then start to identify like, okay, well then how's the anima influenced, being the feminine personality within the masculine? It's like, okay, like how was my relationship with my mum? You know, how was that? It's like I grew up Greek family, like little mummy's boy, you know, it's like have everything done for you. And then I'm like, okay, like the relationship was too positive. So I was, you know, passive masculine, you know, I wasn't really taking charge. And I was just like, it was coming out in its toxic traits, drug use and all of that. So it kept like looping itself back around. It's like, okay, you got to like reset yourself and you got to dive in a little bit more. And that's probably what I'm proud of the most, because now I'm very much so owning my feminine energy. I'm a lot more conscious of my emotions and they're not reactive. Like I'm letting them be there and I'm aware of them and I'm consolidating them. And I'm also able to hold a container for people at the same time. And that's probably what I'm most proud of, because I meet people now and they're like, you got a real calming energy.
Oh yeah, you do.
And I was like, thank you so much. And like, I want people to feel safe, right? I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable around me ever. And it used to be the complete opposite. Like people were just like, yeah. I was like,
Oh, I'm Nick Dorman.
right?
When I first spoke to you, Nick, you telling me about your past life, I'm like, oh my God, who is this? Who am I speaking to? Like the guy you're explaining is like, I'd expect to see a like red square at 3 a.m. Like, munching his gums off. I don't know who this person is.
I was. Just at
That
HQ,
was me.
right?
That was me. Dude, what seemed really present for me is just like the whole journey of the process was literally you just falling in love with yourself.
Yeah, man. I went and saw another lady and we had a bit of a conversation, like about energy here, right? And she said essentially what you've just said, but she's like, your journey, and I think, not everyone, I'm not going to say everyone at all, but men, a lot of men, we have the love smacked out of us, right? And it's like, no, close your heart, be hard on your heart. You got to be tough. You got to just shut up, get on with it, and just that's the way it is. You know?
Sacrifice
right?
for everybody else.
Exactly. And you start like, you know, turning on yourself as well while you do that. And it's like, you don't allow that love. And then when you can start, yeah, exactly.
I find it in your mind, I don't know if you guys have this, a lot of time you're just like, I'm doing this for everyone here and it doesn't even matter if they know. Right, in your head, and just like, I'm going to keep doing it for you guys and I'll just keep copying this and you guys don't even care and you don't even know that I'm doing it.
Yeah. It's heavy. And I feel then when you can go in and start to just feel it for yourself, it just, things start to get better for you.
I just want to quickly touch on the question you asked me about what I'm most proud of, because I've had some time to think about it while Nick was speaking. For me, it was believing in myself, and through believing in myself, because I was thinking what I'm most proud of is the fact that I can just, because I remember asking you a question, I was like, can you do a course on like how to break down philosophy? Like, I'm just reading all these words I don't understand. Like, how do you actually explain this to people?
Oh, dude.
You know? And I found that out on my own. Like, I started believing myself. I started reading books. I started talking to people. I started creating this. And now I'm able to read like philosophy and these deep books that you've been recommending to me. And I'm like able to explain this on Instagram, and I can give real world examples as to how these work. And then I even have friends that I can say like, look, I'm learning about this concept. I'm not completely sure. How would you define this? And to actually just believing in myself. And now I've just become, like you said, like intelligent, being able to read books and being able to explain all this stuff. But just to trace that back, that all started with purpose. Because if I never did my purpose and I never found out that I wanted to, the right path, like I had two options. I could go travel the world, be a vlogger and go film stuff and make videos, or I could go down this road of Ape Fit. I was splitting my energy up, and I always heard like focus your energy on one thing. But I'm like, I don't know, like traveling the world seems pretty cool. And so as I worked that out, I realized, doing this Ape Fit and becoming like a personal development coach and things like that, then I started to do things that were in line with that, which is like reading philosophy and like believing in myself. And had I chosen to be this adventure vlogger, maybe, I'd just be some hippie in Hawaii, which could be cool too, but it would be completely different.
Commit.
Yeah, that's right. And just committing to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm most proud of. Just this self-belief and just this person I've built. Amazing.
Love that.
So you guys, me and George wrote out what we're doing for Set the Standard in January. Oh my God.
Can't wait to hear
We've
about
made it more like, instead of like, we do a lot of teaching, but it's more going to be like, there's challenges that we felt like we've created like 8 big challenges. How hectic are they, George?
Oh, yeah.
It's so hectic. We're so excited, facilitator. One we're doing this weekend. I want to ask you, how excited are you guys this weekend?
I'm super pumped just to be around everyone.
Oh yeah, got to the Gold Coast. Like I said, I rocked up into the Gold Coast, come from Adelaide, and Adam's housemate Riley rocks up and he's like barefoot at the airport. Riley. And I'm like, what the hell? You gotta be barefoot in an airport? Yeah. And I walk out and like literally like 2 seconds later, I'm just walking around in shorts, no shirt, no shoes. And I'm like, man, this is cool. And then I'm like talking to people like Nick, people like Adam, meeting Fred, Corey, and like tomorrow, the event hasn't even started. And like, the event starts tomorrow, and like, just so keen, man. The coffee, the chats, like this is the beginning. It's unreal.
That energy in here as soon as you guys rocked up, I just like that extroverted part of myself just went like this. I just pricked up straight away. I'm like, oh yeah, so much coffee and so much nicotine. To stimulate conversations. Goddamn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my cheek
I feel like I'm on 5 coffees right now.
Yeah, we won't even need like any coffee or anything anyway. We're gonna be goddamn just chatting our damn ears off.
The vibes are high. Not to add, I got out the airport and like as soon as I walk out, he's already got his like shirt off and he's like barefoot waiting near the car. Like, you've only been here one day.
He's like, I need some tea and do some grounding. Yeah.
I was like, man, I hate wearing a shirt. It's good to be in a place where you don't have to wear a shirt.
It's like, why? You get here, media, express myself. Boom, shoes and shirt gone. There's Daniel.
And just to experience that on a serious concept, that's something I've always weighed up in my mind as well doing this course. It's like, the reason I believe that we don't succeed in life is because we care about what other people think. Like if we didn't care about what other people think, we'd do anything. We just record because it's like the amount of stupid stuff you do when you're on your own. Like you would never do that in public. And that's because you care about what people think. It's like, in an ideal world, I would just walk around naked, but it's not because I care about what people think and the society and the laws and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, to a degree, you need to follow the laws, but it's like, why do we cut our grass? Why do we wear shirts in public? It's like, all these things and all these beliefs and all these values that we get installed in us create like an identity, like a persona, like a mask that we wear. And the best example I can give of that is like a dodgy car salesman. He like has to sell for his job, and it's not necessarily his true self. He has to lie to other people.
Or a real estate agent looking at
That's it, yeah.
No comment.
And that's your journey. Oh, that's right, yeah.
So does that mean you're gonna be walking around naked all weekend? Goddamn.
I'll keep my shorts on. It just
Keep your
feels
pants
good
on.
to have my top off. I just like my top off. Like even at home, I never wear a shirt. I just can't stand it.
Vibes
I don't know, there's something about it.
I feel you. I definitely feel you. There's freedom in it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just another quick issue, you guys talked about what you're most like proud of. The other one I would say is like, what is your greatest fear? Because recently we figured out a process to map this out, and I essentially think your greatest fear is feeling an emotion.
Feeling an emotion.
There's an emotion that you just don't like above anything else.
Shame.
Yours, shame, just straight away.
Well,
Embarrassed, shame, guilt. Like, what is
the
it?
guilt and shame is like that feeling of like just being wrong. Like I think that is a very putrid feeling. Of
Well,
like,
how would being wrong make you feel? Like if we were saying something and I was like, "No, Nick, you are wrong." Like, what was the feeling you'd feel?
makes you feel inadequate?
Oh, that's hectic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think
It makes sense for you why you like The Shiny and you had all those things previously. It's like I think you like dissolved your fear of feeling inadequate.
I did. Still some afterburn. It does like
course.
that. You know
It's
what I mean?
always gonna be there.
There's always feeling. I'm gonna be honest. I get vulnerable while we're here. Fuck it. Like even coming on this podcast, right? I'm like,
Please do, Nick.
I thought, what am I gonna say? I was like, what? Like no one wants to hear it, you know. But it's like no, like that's just all that old stuff that you're dealing with, all that self hate that you're dealing with, you know, and that inadequacy, right?
Hey, ego Nick.
Hey, what?
Hey, ego Nick.
Yeah.
Back of
Hey,
my
bud.
head. Hey, man.
Take a seat. I'll feed you a little later on or something. if I decide to let you out the cage.
What about you?
For me, it's regret. 100%. 100%. And because obviously you asked us to map out our greatest fears. And for me, I had a few. And one was not reaching my full potential. And these other two probably stem from that anyway. The other one was not achieving all the goals and desires that I want to do to serve humanity. And the other one was not taking the time to fully soak it all in. And all of that wouldn't be possible unless I reach my full potential. And so that's a deep fear within me. And the reason I realize this is because I'm spending a lot of time and energy trying to get somewhere in life. And the reason I had to fix my relationship is because I was so tied to my purpose and trying to do something in life. And there's a lot of people out there that strive with money and things like that. And I don't want to get to the end of my life. And I don't even want to get to like age 40 and be like, man, I wish I did something else. This is like pretty unfulfilling and a bit empty. Like I just want to be the best version of myself. I want to have the most loving and beautiful relationships with friends, family, my partner. I want to have all the financial abundance in the world. I want like a huge mansion in the forest, and like I told myself I will have that. It's just a matter of time to catch up as I be my best self and
enjoy the journey to get there.
Yes.
and enjoy the journey and soak it all in and be part of it all.
Is your fear regret, or is it something along more of an emotion evoked from the fear of missing out, or embarrassment that you didn't get to your goals?
It's not embarrassment. It's a deep feeling of like unhappiness and unfulfillment and
What's that negative emotion called? How would you label that emotion? Is it shame? Is it
guilt.
it is what, guilt that you didn't get it?
I think it's guilt that I didn't try.
Okay, so if you, like, let's say, for example, you just stopped trying again because you would have been living in this feeling for a while. Like, what was the emotion that was sort of sitting in your body before you started trying? How were you just feeling all day?
Yeah,
Like your partner would have made you feel. And
Yep. No, it was guilt. I remember being a plumber and going to work every day, and people would be like, "Living the dream, brother," and I'd be like, "Yeah, living the dream, man." And then I would just go at it with my 5 hours of sleep deprivation and smash out plumbing, then fall asleep on the way home, go get like an energy drink so I could fuel myself to get through the next 10 minutes of my drive. And I'm like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And I'm like, how would I feel in 20 years if I continued down this route? And I'd feel so guilty that I just didn't try to do something with my life. And like, it's like a deep feeling of guilt.
I've got a question, right? Don't you think that at the end of the day, like every fear that we have is the emotion behind it is always guilt?
I don't know. See, I think it's different. We figured out George's last night, and he has a fear of feeling lonely. His is loneliness. Ooh. So everything that he does, for example, if someone is...
that sits with me.
Yeah, is he having a dispute with someone and he can't see something from their point of view and he's like, what do you mean? It's because he's like, well, right now we're not on the same team and I want you to be on my team. Be healthier. Do this thing, because if I'm doing all these things and you're not doing it, then you're not on my team and I'm feeling lonely.
Would you then say loneliness reverts back to feeling not good enough, so you're guilty because you're a bad person? It's like I don't feel like I deserve more than what I have right now because I'm a guilty person and I'm bad.
Maybe yours is guilt then, because I think they're different.
I
honestly,
no, mine
think
is
that,
guilt, 100%. Yeah.
Like I think guilt's probably I think if we dug a little bit deeper and we went through wasn't set the standard, we can get the real clear emotion. I think as he talked about guilt and I talked about guilt, maybe it's like a thing like right now that we're seeing, but I think like embarrassment is a lot of thing with some people, and shame is one thing with someone, not being good enough, inadequate, what you mentioned beforehand. I think it'd be a dominant one. It's like, I just hate feeling inadequate. And then that's like the negative emotion that you try to avoid all the time that you need to lean into. So I think it would take some deeper thinking.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it could just be guilt's the one for you.
Yeah.
I think.
No, for me, it definitely is. I guess the body absorbs all of that in its own way as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like it all feels somewhat the same.
Yeah.
It's like that pit, you know what I mean? It's just like like it's a low vibration, low energy.
Yeah. And I think like whatever the main emotion that we're scared of will invoke all of the other negative emotions anyway, but it's locating that one. Mm-hmm. So when he said regret, it was like, guilt. When George was like, well, if he's experiencing like loneliness and he doesn't want to feel lonely, and then he's like pointing out something on someone, and he's like, fuck, I feel guilty for being blunt and not seeing things from their point of view, and that's making him feel guilty, but he did it out of the fear of loneliness.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I
feel
think
like there's a rabbit hole that we can go.
Keep going. It's good.
Loneliness definitely sits quite deep with me. And when you think about like when I think about a lot of like books I've read and things like that, like Ikigai and the reason for longevity and these blue zones and stuff like that, it's like the largest population of centenarians, what they had in common was Ikigai, but like a positive community and like talking and speaking. It's that community. And then you look at there's like a TED talk on the longest study they've ever done. They had like 3 professors take over the study because they did it among 80 years. And they initially had obviously a professor running it, and maybe he was 60 or so, and obviously he passed away for the study to continue. And they did this for so many men. And they found out that the people that lived the longest, when they compared all the data, it had nothing to do with being healthy or any biomarkers. It was to do with having positive relationships with friends and family, and that was the answer. And
which is why this weekend is going to make us live forever.
Yeah. The longevity weekend, baby.
So good.
We ain't dying anytime soon, baby.
Yeah.
Led on to my question, because this is the last question that I wanted to ask for you, and it's like, what makes, I'm not sure how to word it, I'm just going to try this one. What do you think makes our community so special, and why should people be a part of it? Because we want to keep meeting other studs. We want high quality people who are open to learning and growing. We want people to make those transformational journeys of their lives. And like, you guys have done it. Mm-hmm. Like, look at you. Insane. So like, what is it about our community that you guys think makes it special? And then why should people be a part of a community? Not reaching out everyone to obviously join ours if you're vibing 100%, see if you can. But obviously, if not, it's like, why is our community special, and why should anyone join a community anyway?
You go.
Yep. So I think a lot of us, as you worked out, I think through data, that a lot of men have a fear of reaching their full potential. And this community is full of men reaching their full potential. And reaching their full potential means having abundant relationships, having abundant finance, feeling good within themselves. Like all the hierarchies that a human needs to be satisfied, these people are striving for, and these people are connecting with and helping each other with. And that community builds each other. Like we all build on each other, and we all grow, and we all support each other. And so I think people should want to strive for that if that's the goal of theirs. If their fear is, if they think deeply enough and they locate their deepest fear, which for a lot of people is reaching their full potential, which is all those hierarchies, if they want to achieve that, they need to be part of a community that helps them with that. Because otherwise they're just going to be trying to achieve that on their own. And then they're going to be, self-sacrificing. It's going to be the ego again. It's going to be talking to people that influence values and teachings and certain things that bring them down. So you need to be part of a community that lifts you up and brings you to that point.
But why is our community special? Like, what makes it unique?
The community is unique because everybody in the community is actually chasing their goals, actually climbing, and they're actually doing it. They're not talking about it, they're doing it. And it's inspiring other people. It's that fire within us. And it's everyone's growing. And if you want to be growing, this community is growing and it's growing everyone else. And so if you want to be that person, you need to be surrounded by people that are growing in the same way. And this community is just full of people that are growing and actually taking action on their life. So if you want to do that, you need to join.
I think one of the things is everyone just calls each other. Is that what you're going to say? Tell us, go nuts.
First thing for you wrapped that up pretty well though. But to add, I would say it's safe. And you can trust that it's safe. A lot of the time hesitancy.
Completely agree.
Yeah, hesitancy comes from like, I haven't been myself fully before. How am I going to do this with a bunch of other guys, And it's like, you don't trust that. But like, that's why I think that our community is unique in its own way, because it's such a safe space and like everyone's so welcoming and like, be you. We're happy to support you. We're here to support you for being you, and like whatever it is you're going through, we'll help you out. But then to add to that, I probably have 2 or 3 scheduled calls a week. I speak.
Shout out to Michael.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah, Michael's all over it.
Oh God,
Michael.
Yeah.
And Alex probably. Yeah, I reckon Alex and Joey. But like, I have like a regular call like every either Thursday morning or Friday morning with Alex on my way to work, and like he's up in Brizzy, man. Like I'm in Adelaide. Like we're on the different sides of the country, but like in like the 4 calls we've had, it's like, I love you, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's like straight up love too.
Yeah.
So I love this guy.
It's like we've got each other's backs. Having coffee for 6 hours with Daniel, he's like, it's coming together.
And all these people are like there's certain people in the world that are on this mission, but like this community is full of people from all sides of the world, all sides of Australia that are doing this. And on your own, in your small little town or wherever you live, it's very hard to find these people.
Yeah, especially like Michael from Scotland, like Michael Petrie.
Yes.
Oh man,
it's crazy.
Learning how to breathe
properly.
Apparently, we forgot as humans.
You wouldn't know how incorrect we do it. It's actually a really cool test. He managed to like get your phone out and you put your nose over this, like over your phone screen if you're laying it flat and you breathe, and you see like through your nose there's like 2 little holes, like it's like a little bit of moisture.
Yes.
You breathe out your mouth. Like if I just make that go black, let's go black. You breathe out your mouth over your phone screen. Moisture everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're mouth breathing.
Yeah. I'll
It's
sleep
like
with
you're
tape on my mouth.
You're
every night.
losing, yeah. You're losing, you're dehydrated. So it's like, you don't want to be a mouth breather.
Shout out to Michael.
And you know what? That fixed the way I wake up in the mornings. I used to be so tired and fatigued in the mornings. I started having a bit of water at night, taping my mouth, and I'd wake up and I'd feel so much more refreshed. And it was just because of all the water I'd been perspiring by, like as I'm
Just
sleeping.
breathe, just mouth breathing like water.
Yeah,
God
you can't
damn, me
control
too,
it.
bro. I'm trying hard not to. All right, last question, because I want you guys just to give one thing to everyone who's listening right now, to teach them something that you find super useful. So if you were to teach the audience one thing, real simply, sharply, clearly, recommend them to do something about it. If you were to teach someone simply, sharply, clearly something, and then recommend them something to do about it, what would it be? Nick, would you go first?
Ask yourself why anything and write it all out. I would just sit down, even though it's week 1, but it'd be it. Like, why are you anything? Why are you doing any of it? And write it out. Don't ask the question. Get paper or go on a document, write it out and get right down to the bottom of it. See what that does for you. You'll go somewhere you've never been before.
And is there anything you'd like to teach real quick?
I would say is that I want to sit on that one.
All right, we'll
You
go
go.
down.
I want to sit on that one. Yeah.
Do my relationships help me grow? Yes or no? And list down everyone you're close with. Your mum, your dad, your sister. And don't say maybe or sort of here, yes or no. Do they help me grow? Do they help me be the best version of myself or not? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then strive to find people that will help you grow. That's my tip. It's easy enough, yes or no?
Yes or no, baby.
In regards to teaching, I would just say the concept or the understanding of just surrendering and not...
Okay, so if I said, how do I surrender? What would you say?
The thought process would be very much of the case that where you are right now and what you're doing is completely perfect. And to tell yourself that, like we're touching on failure before and I wasn't going to bring it up and now we're here. Failure is not really a thing unless you make it a thing. So it's like...
Failure doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist unless you believe in it. Think about it, right?
George and Adam right now, guys, like they're watching the podcast and I just hear George in the background. He's like, oh, fucking hell.
It's perception. Like you can't fail. Like don't believe you can fail. It's not real. It's a condition that we think like, I'm going to do something wrong. I'm going to fuck it up. I'm not going to do anything. What you're doing is perfect. If you're listening right now, whatever you're doing is perfect. Just take one step forward. But everything you're doing is perfect and have that as a mindset.
Everyone who's listening, Nick Diamond has completed he's almost finished like a 12-month work coach and it's not coaching certificate, and it's not from any modern day stuff. It's from like old school teachers who have done like 40, 50 years and you cannot find them. Julie Way, she's a master. Yep. You cannot find her basically on the internet, and Nick's like completed her course. Like he's just finished it. If people want breathwork coaching or have any advice from you, where can they find you?
Instagram, Connected and Conscious.
Just Connected and Conscious?
Connected and Conscious, one word. Follow it, hit me up. You want to have a conversation, I'm all in.
And you're like doing a couple of free breathwork sessions for some people at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah. I've got, Jesus. It started off with a few and there's like probably 10 now.
Holy shit.
But I'm willing. Like, I'm willing to give free breathwork sessions temporarily because at the end of the day, like it's a beautiful thing and everyone deserves to experience it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Daniel, where can people find you and what are you offering?
Let me give people a quick word of advice. Just to tie in with Nick because I thought that was quite powerful. So you are the creator of your life and not the victim. You are the ultimate creator of your life. So if something's happening to you in life, you don't like your job, you don't like your relationship, you can either fix it or leave it. Fix it or leave it, and or walk away. So you are the ultimate creator in your life. And you are not the victim. And you just need to remember that because often we get caught up, oh yeah, I could, but like, look what he's doing. He lives this kind of life or he was gifted here. And it's just like, well, you can quit your job. You can start up a new company. You can sit down, do some deep work. You can join this community. You can be friends with that guy. You just got to message him. So you just got to remember that you are the creator of your life and not the victim. And boom. That's a massive belief that people need to adopt.
Yeah, so beautiful.
I love it.
Thanks for sharing that. Where can people find you and what are you offering?
People can find me on Instagram, apefit.au. At the moment, I'm offering personal training / lifestyle coaching. So I help people become someone that's sort of overweight, depressed, doesn't know what they're doing with life. They don't have a lot of direction in the health industry. They're very unhealthy. They don't know what's healthy. They don't know where to start. And taking someone to they optimize their grounding, certain biohacks and things like that. So just getting people healthy. At the moment, I'm trying to build like a healthy lifestyle community.
So you're transforming minds and bodies through lifestyle and embracing it.
Perfect way to express it. Yep, 100%.
Well,
apefit.au, reach out to me.
Hell yeah. So these guys are really available. You can listen to them. We're doing some crazy stuff in the community, going nuts, doing stuff there. So anyone wants to join and be a part of this energy, then goddamn reach out. We've got a membership and a program. So it's all there open on the website, getstartedwithcorey.com. Guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So much gratitude. Awesome.
Thank you, George and Adam.
Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, and Fred.
The dog.
And Fred. Where's Fred?
Wait, that podcast was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that podcast was wild. The
sweet.
energy was sick.